The 697th edition of the MMA Gambling Podcast on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network is brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. Sign up with promo code MMASGPN to get a 50% deposit bonus of up to $1,000. And we're also brought to you by Rhythm. Start crushing the college football and NFL seasons with Rhythm. Get your 7-day free trial today by going to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/RITHMM.
Hi-yo, degenerinos. Welcome to episode 697 of the MMA Gambling Podcast, the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. Or maybe it's not 697. People like to dispute the truth and say things aren't true, which brings me to the dedications this week. We got haters of the week, plural. Tom Hallam, who says these guys haven't got
that one's
a
more respectful one.
Yeah.
I actually like that one. He's just saying that he really likes Jhonata Scott, and I like Jhonata Scott too.
No, he says we don't have a clue. That's not respectful. And then our good friend, Mr. Swerve, who somehow you hate it so much yet you're always in our comment section.
That dude might listen to more episodes of our podcast than anybody else. Although Jong. Maybe golden pineapple's up there.
Yes.
Shout out Golden Pineapple for real.
Now Mr. Swerve says these guys suck at making picks. Trust me. Just watch the fight tape yourself and make your picks. Don't take these guys at face value. So 38 and a half units Gumby is up this year. I don't mind being rude.
The funny part too is he says, like, what have you done in the last couple of months? And that's, by the way, I'm up 37 and a half units on non-UFC MMA on the year. 27 of those have come in the last 2 months.
Yeah.
Yeah, all-time heater.
Yeah, and you mentioned sucking in the email. That's our advice to you, or my advice to you as well. So, all right, thanks for coming to the show. I'm one of your hosts, big body Taco Fox. We're gonna give you some more losing picks. Actually, there'll be winning picks, but it's gonna be considered losing picks after we go. We usually get yelled at when we go 9-2 on the UFC. So hopefully
11-2, and I got yelled at that one.
Hopefully we can do that. If someone doesn't like one of your picks, then all hell breaks loose. But that's right.
Okay, cool.
Get your own shows, losers. Like I said, get your own nicknames like Big Body Talkbooks. And my co-host Gumby Vreeland. We got a big one for you, UFC 309. It's November. It's pay-per-view time, which means it's Madison Square Garden time. I hear people saying how this is a great card, but if you compare it to other MSG cards, it's not so great. But we're going to enjoy it nonetheless. We're going to enjoy making money on it because we enjoy UFC Vegas 89. I'm sure we enjoyed, just to pick a random event, and I'm sure we made money on it as well. Gumby, who fought at UFC Vegas 89? You probably know off the top of your head, knowing you. I just pulled that randomly out of my head.
89. It feels like that could have been Marcin Tybura versus Sergey Spivak.
No, it was two women headlined it. Flyweights.
Was that the Manov? No, not Manov. She only fights overseas for the most part.
Oh, maybe she's got a visa thing too. Hebus versus Namajunas was the main.
Oh, okay. So that's actually a pretty good event.
Co-main event, as Gumby says, he always judges by co-main event. Carl Williams and Justin Taffa. So there you go. There's where it falls off the.
That's a good one.
There's where the wheels fall off. But no, we're not going to have any of that issues this week. Put yourself fight card. Some questionable names in the part they expect you to pay for, but hey, nonetheless, if you want to pay for James Yon Top, excuse me, Mauricio Hufi at these points in their career, more power to you.
I think here's a conspiracy theory about the booking and putting that one on the main card. I think they're putting the Chris Weidman, Eryk Anders one on the prelims as like you're gonna want to see Chris Weidman fight, but also you don't really want to pay for Chris Weidman fight. It feels dirty at this stage in his career, but the Huffy one is like one that like it'll get more of the like hardcores interested in watching it.
Yeah, you feel more like you're contributing to his demise if you're actually paying to watch Chris Weidman fight. So, all right, we're not worried about the. Actually, we are worried about Chris Weidman today because he's on the prelims. Tomorrow we'll worry about the main card. So today is all about the prelims. Luckily, I went in this morning to update the odds because a new fight popped up on the schedule that wasn't there when I did this, I guess, yesterday. So yeah, we'll break down that fight as well. After I remind you that if you haven't downloaded the SGPN app, you're missing out. And no, everyone has FOMO these days, so you don't want to have that. The SGPN app gives you access to all the podcasts on the network and the picks pages in one convenient app. Plus, like all our content, the app is completely free. type in SGPN in your app store to download it today. And if you think our picks suck, then you'll think the rest of the network's picks suck as well, because we're all very good, not good at what we're doing apparently. So there you go. All right. Boom. Let's break her down, shall we? UFC 309. Apparently it's called Jones versus Miocic. And it's going down New York, the city that never sleeps, November the 16th. 6 p.m. is the start time of the prelims that we are covering today, the early prelims. Main prelims, 8 p.m. as per usual. Then pay-per-view portion, main card portion is 10 p.m. We're got 13 fights, and we're kicking things off with a women's fight, a flyweight fight. Veronica Hardy, not from Brazil, still in my head. I'm still that way, thinking everyone from
Venezuela. Is it Venezuela?
Yes, she's from Venezuela. She is up against Eduarda Moura. She is from Brazil. How do I know that? Because her nickname is Ronda, and pretty much every fighter her age from Brazil's nickname is Ronda.
Fair.
Spelled like the Ronda Rousey Ronda. So we're going to tell you about her first. Ronda Moura, 10-1, 4 knockouts, 5 submissions, never been finished in a fight. 1-1 in the UFC, 1-0 on Contender Series. Lost her last fight. Missed weight before at strawweight. This is up at flyweight though, right? Yes. Yeah. So she's moved up to flyweight. She has fought at strawweight, as I mentioned, and at bantamweight. Regional champ, 2 inches height, 2 inches reach over Hardy. Better striking stats than Hardy, better grappling stats than Hardy, and she's outstruck her opponents. So 3 opponents, UF2 in UFC, 1 in Contender Series by almost a striking minute. So pretty solid, 0.99 to be exact. And she's at plus 125. Hardy, 9-4-1, 1 knockout, 2 submissions. She's been knocked out once, submitted once, 4-4 in the UFC. However, she's won 3 straight and 4 of 5. Has not lost since March 2020. Used to fight at bantamweight as well. A year younger than Moira. Surprising. She fought ages ago, went away for a long time, and now she's still younger than the newcomers in the UFC. More active landing strikes than Moira. Has been outstruck, though, in the UFC by 0.62 strikes per minute, minus 148. We'll kick it over to Gumby to kick this off.
I sat on this one for a really long time, and I still don't feel great about it, but I'm going to take Veronica Hardy. Okay. I love Eduarda Moura. I think she had a bad fight against Diniz Gomes. That one still was that a split? I feel like that was a split.
Yes, it was. Yeah.
I feel like the right side came out on that. I feel like we were trying to steal one if I'm remembering watching that correctly. Yeah. But like my problem with that is like she couldn't get her wrestling going, particularly late in the fight. And now you're going to send her up in weight class to somebody who's as big as Veronica Hardy is. And I probably help her cardio a little bit, which seemed to wane pretty hard at the end of that Diniz Gomes fight. But like, is that enough for her to still have to deal with like, the much bigger weight of Veronica Hardy? Because, like Diniz Gomes is strong, but like Diniz Gomes isn't big, it's not like Hardy is. And so, and Hardy's been in there dealing with women who want to grapple before. She's really quick with the hands now, it seems like. She's actually gotten her own wrestling going a lot lately. As much as I liked Moura, and I really liked her it was Contender Series, coming off the Contender Series, I just can't see her going up in weight and being a bully after not being able to bully Diniz Gomes, particularly against Hardy, who's done well in that realm. So I'm going to take Veronica Hardy. I don't feel super great about it. It could just be Moura like badly needed to change weights, but I'm going to go Hardy.
I'm going the other side. I've convinced myself on Moira. Hardy, it's hard to pick against her the way she has been fighting late. Like since she's come back, she's been ever since her name changed to Hardy. I guess that was the key. She's looked fantastic, but I really like.
He's Moira been coaching her since that's happened. By the way,
yeah.
Dan Hardy's been her coach since then.
Yeah. Moira, she's moving up. Yet she's still bigger than Hardy, at least lengthwise. 2 inches height, 2 inches reach, and she's a finisher. And she's a finisher everywhere. That's something Hardy is not. I think she can be better than her on the feet, and hopefully can get the grappling going. I think she's a worthy dog here. So let's roll the dice on Ronda Moira, see if she can get back on track. But Hardy's a tough one. This is a tough fight to pick overall. And Hardy,
I would like to be on record saying I don't think she's a better striker.
Well, we'll see. Ground striker.
I mean, like if she is in full mount in the other
exactly
is not. Yeah, I think she's a better striker there.
No, that's true. Hardy's looked very good. No, Hardy is looking in the feet, but it's not a powerful finishing style.
That's true.
It's a thing. So, but that could play into. Well, I guess Moira's gas tank should be better moving up. So we'll see. All right, we're moving way up. 170 on the men's side. Oban Elliott from Wales versus Bassil Hafez from United States of America. a former Top Turtle MMA podcast.
I love Bassil.
Yes. Well, we'll see if you love him enough to pick him. He's the Habibi, 9-4-1, 1 knockout, 4 submissions, never been finished in a fight, 1-1 in the UFC, 3-1 over his last 4, 5-2 over his last 7. Did win his last fight. He's got multiple regional championships on his
mantle.
Correct. Get the shirt, sportsgamblefocus.com/store. Get sticky with it. More active landing strikes than Elliott. Has been outstruck in the UFC by 1.3 strikes per minute. Not good. Plus 200. The Welsh gangster, Oban Elliott, 11-2, 2 knockouts, 3 submissions. Been knocked out twice, 2-0 in the UFC, 1-0 in Contender Series. He's won 7 straight and 8 of 9. He's not lost since December 2021. Used to fight at lightweight, an inch of height over Hafez, 5 years younger. Better striking stats, better grappling stats, and he's outstruck his opponents in the UFC by 1.58 strikes per minute, minus 240. All the stats point to the Welsh gangster, and I am going to take him. He's one of the few UK fighters who have actually come over and succeeded their first crack in the UFC. It seems a lot of the hyped guys coming out of Cage Warriors or that scene seem to have struggled. Elliott seems to be getting better. As it goes along, he's on a very hot streak, younger than Hafez, has fought better competition. And I think
he's fought better competition. He fought Val Woodburn in his debut, and
Hafez I didn't say UFC competition. not UFC. Yes, not UFC competition. Previously before the UFC, but Elliott's my pick, and Gumby's going Hafez because he got.
Yeah, I'm definitely going Hafez, and also I'm gonna
or Hafez. Is it Hafez? I think I'm
on the air fact check you here because looks like his best win outside of the UFC. Let's see.
Cage Warriors is a good organization. All right.
Yeah. Did you like that he beat Matthew Bonner? 12-8-1.
Because he's like 6'9". I guess he beat
in the NBA. He beat James Sheehan. I guess that's not a bad win. Meanwhile, we got Anthony Ivy for Hafez. He drew with Jeremiah Wells. The strength of schedule does not favor Oban Elliott here. There's no way.
Okay,
the guy who fought Jeremiah Wells and Jack Della Maddalena has a worse one than James Sheehan and Val Woodburn, which, by the way, Val Woodburn had his back in that fight too.
He's a gardener, though. He's got gardener strength.
He's the landscaper, right? The landscaper had Oban Elliott's back, and Bassil Hafez arguably won a split decision trying to out-grapple Jack Della Maddalena. I can't believe the line is where it is in this fight. It's got to be extra hype on the Cage Warriors of it all. But Oban Elliott has fought Preston Parsons and Val Woodburn in the UFC, and pretty much was losing his Contender Series fight until Kai Brito just gassed out and couldn't fight anymore. Hafez, meanwhile, took a fight on 3 days' notice and went toe-to-toe with Jack Della Maddalena. I think this is a slam dunk easy pick. Hafez has got a great gas tank. He's going to be able to match that part of Oban Elliott, and I think he's a better wrestler, too. I think he's going to wind up in good positions. Wouldn't be surprised if he finishes him. I'll take Bassil Hafez.
Well, you're going to get a nice little payday if that hits, aren't you?
What's that? 220 you said?
200, I think I got it. 200 is the best I could get you. Sorry. Okay. But you said he's going to finish him, so that's all right. Put your money where your mouth is. Grab the prop, too. You all set.
You might hear about that on tomorrow's episode.
All right, I'm not asking that.
I'll tell you. Oban Elliott gave up his back to Val Woodburn. He does that to Bassil Hafez, and he doesn't get out of it. Bassil Hafez by submission plus 600.
How's Hafez with a weed whacker, though, Gumby?
Not as good as Val Woodburn.
Yeah, well, okay, there you go. So there you go. That could be the difference in this fight here.
And if John Jones asked to be able to use a weed whacker in the cage, the UFC would amend it.
Maybe we'll talk about that tomorrow. But yeah, that's ridiculous. What's going on? It's unreal. The amount of trouble that guy has caused them, and not even one of their massive money makers. Anyhow, before we move on, Gumby took an underdog. I took an underdog. I'm going to tell you about Underdog Fantasy. This is one underdog we both agree on. Underdog Pick'em has one of the biggest menus for all sports. They got NFL, they got college football, college basketball, MMA, NBA, NASCAR, and more. Boost Over is not around anymore. Please, people, it's over. Get over it. They do always have specials and boosts, and you can use them on all flex entries. And as per usual, Gumby has a winning play for you. Maybe it's a UFC one. Who's to say?
No, I got one for Thursday Night Football. I did some prep work because I was a guest feature on the Daily Dog, another SGPN podcast. But I over-prepared and came with too many picks. So I'll give you the one that I wasn't able to give away. That's Jeremy Chin's solo and assist tackles put together. The higher than 6.5 on those. He's had 12 in the last 2 games, and yet the line set at 6.5. So give me the higher than on 6.5. solo and assist tackles combined.
But beware, Gumby admitted that is just a leftover pick. No one wanted it.
The other one, you'll have to listen to the Wednesday Daily Dog and check out my my other Commanders pick.
Is that Britton's show? Is he?
Yeah, that was me and Britton. I was his first guest.
There you go. Oh, there you go. Sign up with our code. We're back to Underdog, ladies and gentlemen. Sign up with the code MMASGPN to claim your special pick and first-time deposit offer up to $1,000 in bonus cash. Underdogfantasy.com, promo code MMASGPN. Are we subconsciously we're hurt so bad by these comments on YouTube? Is that why we're both picking different fighters? So one of us will be right. Is that what's going on? I guess you both could be wrong.
I love the negative comments. So
it made me mad for some reason, even though I really don't care.
You came in saucy today.
It made me mad just because I don't like lying, and that's just lies. I don't care.
Jeff Saucy Fox.
Yes, I don't care if people say I looks like I'm at my grandma's house, but if they lie, and say Gumby's not good at what he does, then I take offense to that. All right, we're
protective
sticking
of his Gumby.
Yep, his Gumby is true. We're sticking with the welterweights. Mickey Gall, Mickey Gall in the UFC still, or back in the UFC. Ramiz Brahimaj, 3 5-minute rounds, 170. I'm going to tell you about Brahimaj first, 10-5, 10 with 10 submissions. He's been knocked out once, 2-3 in the UFC. Loss. That is quite a streak. He has not put anything back to back for quite a while. 2014 pro MMA debut. He's been outstruck in the UFC by minus 1.95 strikes per minute. That will not get you many wins. Better grappling stats than Gall, plus 120. Gall is 7-6 with 6 submissions. Oh boy. He's been knocked out twice, 6-6 in the UFC. He has lost 3 straight and only won 1 of his last 5. He's not won since July 2021. 4 inches of height over Brahimaj, 2 inches of reach. Better striking stats, more active landing strikes. That sets up into Brahimaj's striking. He's been outstruck as well in the UFC by 1.22 strikes per minute, minus 125. Mickey Gall is back because he, I guess, was willing to take a short notice last fight, right? I think that's how he got back in.
Did he get fired? Why do you keep talking about like he got fired?
He got released, but he didn't fight anywhere else. And then
I think he probably just had a contract expire, and he was one of those ones. I don't know that he was a real deal release. I'm going Brahimaj.
Me too.
Yeah. What? And you said we're getting plus money on that?
Yeah, I was surprised by that, and I will take it.
Plus 105,
120, even better.
120, even better. Yeah. Yeah, I like Brahimaj in this fight for a couple of reasons. Like, look at the types of guys who beat him. It's people who can bully him and sort of force him into like a daunting clinch battle that he can't win. Court McGhee, notorious grinder. Max Griffin, kind of underratedly good grinder in terms of being in the cage and his grappling abilities and stuff like that. And then who is the more recent one that he lost to that sort of grinded him out? I feel like there was a third one in there. He's definitely lost 3 times. But like, he also, when he gets his own wrestling going, like the Sasha Plitnikov fight, like he looks great. And in this fight, the best part of it is like, first of all, I think all of the grappling will be him on top. I don't rate Mickey Gall's wrestling very high. And then second of all, I think this is maybe the first time he's fought where he has like a very clear striking advantage, because like we commented on Mickey Gall's striking being a touch better in one of his fights. And then he proceeded to put up 3 of the lamest duds I've ever seen in a row, where he just looked awful. It continues to be a problem with Mickey Gall that I think he got to the UFC so fast and with basically one dimension being rounded out because they wanted him to fight CM Punk or Mike Jackson or whoever the hell they wanted him to fight. And like, this is a dude who, if he's stuck with CFFC or LFA or something like that for 5 or 6 fights and like rounded out his striking, we'd probably be talking about him very differently. But instead, he's learning on the job and basically having to lean into the only thing he does well. Here, I don't even think he's got the advantage there, at least not positionally. So I'll take Ramiz Brahimaj.
Me too. I second all you say, everything you say here. He's fighting a guy who wants to grapple. Okay, no problem. He will grapple all day long. So
he's got 10 wins by submission.
Yeah, exactly. I'll take. I'm not picking Mickey Gall. Even if maybe if Mike Jackson and or CM Punk come back, then I might pick him to win the rematches, but nothing else at this point. So, all right, a hastily made heavyweight bout. Not really short notice because another guy was on the card until Deniz's fight fell through, which is just a few weeks ago, right?
Correct. Yes.
Marcin, Tybura, Poland, an easy Polish name for me. Jhonata, Diniz from Brazil, 3 5-minute rounds. Surprisingly, the heavyweights are on the early prelims. How often do you ever
they
see
didn't
that?
swap this one with?
I know,
Chris
shocking. At least it should be the main event of the prelims. You think? Diniz is 8-0 with 7 knockouts. He's 2-0 in the UFC, 1-0 in Contender Series, 22-7 in kickboxing, and a champion there. An inch of height, an inch of reach over Tybura, 6 years younger, better striking stats, more active landing strikes. That's based off. He's got 3 fights. It's a decent sample size. He's outstruck his opponents in those fights by 1.34 strikes per minute. 1.24 is the number on the board for him. Tybura, good nickname. 25-9, 9 knockouts, 7 submissions. Been knocked out 5 times, submitted once. 12-8 in the UFC. Loss over his last 3. 3-2 over his last 5. Got submitted in his last fight. Sadly, we picked him to win that fight. Regional champ, 2011 pro MMA debut. Has outstruck his opponents by 0.23 strikes per minute in the UFC. Better grappling stats than Diniz, minus 140. Give me Tybura. I was going to pick Derek Lewis over Diniz.
Yeah,
I think, I think Tybura has got a very clear path to victory. Take him down and grind him out, submit him, and or just lie on top of him if need be. But yeah, Diniz's wrestling really hasn't been tested yet, and Tybura is I'm calling him by his nickname. Tybura is well rounded enough that he's not just a ground guy. So I think this is a big step up for Diniz. I think Tybura can handle him.
Yeah, and I think Deniz's wrestling has been tested, and it sucked.
There you go.
Was it Austin?
I was being nice.
Was it Austin Lane who mounted him in the first round? And
he did fight him. Yeah,
I'm really glad that you survived the rest of the round with Austin Lane,
Carl Williams, and Austin Lane.
Yeah, and the Carl Williams one was just Williams tried to spam the takedowns, but Austin Lane is mostly a boxer, and that dude got to mount in the first round there. And the thing is, you fight Marcin Tybura and he puts you in bottom out in the first round. You're not going to a second round because the dude's got a sick arm triangle, and at the very least will just pitter patter enough ground and pound that the ref feels like they got to stop it. Deniz's grappling, I think, is truly bad. Do I think it's as bad as Rebellis Despaigne? No, that guy's going
karate combat.
Yeah, that's perfect home for him. That's probably where he should have been in the first place. Let him go kickbox Sam Alvey's head off. And, I'm happy for that. But Jhonata Diniz, I don't think is nominally much better. I think it's a little bit better, but not much. And you're up against Tybura, who outside of Jelton Almeida and Sergey Spivak,
wrestlers,
probably the best wrestler. Oh, I mean, Curtis Blades.
Okay. Yeah.
In terms of top game wrestlers at heavyweight, probably one of the 5 best in this division. And so of course, I think Tybura is going to take him down and get him out of there in the first.
Yeah. And if he doesn't, then we have a new heavyweight up and comer, which is fine. So win-win. All right. So that is the early prelims. Let's move on, ladies and gentlemen, to the prelims proper. This is the fight that snuck up on me. I guess when was it announced? Onama Romero just
yesterday.
Okay, yeah.
I saw it from Romero's management team.
Okay, after I did my research, like I said, glad I went in early today to get things updated because I got this fight on the card for us. It is a featherweight bout. David Onama, he is from a country that we don't get a lot of fighters from. He is from Uganda, and he's up against Roberto Romero. He is from Mexico. This is 3 5-minute rounds. This is featherweight, and this is your breakdown. Romero is El Charro Negro, which is a Mexican ghost type thing. It doesn't translate to Mexican ghost, but it's a name of a Mexican ghost, apparently. He is 8-3-1, 3 knockouts, 2 submissions. He's been knocked out once. This is a short notice UFC debut, so everyone's alarm bell should be ringing. 4-1 in the UFC. One is not in the UFC, excuse me, over his last 5. Won his last 5 via submission. Used to fight at lightweight, 6 years younger than Onama. Is there? I didn't find odds earlier. Are the odds?
Yeah, I got them. You want?
Okay.
Just give me the Onama breakdown, and I'll have it for you.
Onama, silent assassin. Silent assassin versus a Mexican ghost. Perfect matchup. 12-2, 7 knockouts, 4 submissions. Never been finished in a fight. 4-2 in the UFC. He's won 2 straight and 4 or 5. He did miss weight in his last fight, so usually that is a recipe for losing. The stats state that you fighters that miss weight only win 43% of the time. But he bucked the trend and he won his last fight. Let me get back to the right tab again. Here we go. Used to fight at 155, 3 inches taller than Romero. Or Homero. No, he's from Mexico. You have to say it, Romero. Gumby, the odds.
Plus 750 on Romero, plus 1100 on Onama.
I was thinking
or minus 1100 on Onama.
Sticking in the 600s, but okay. All right. Onama minus 1100. Got it.
Is it my turn?
I think it's you.
I'm taking Onama.
Yeah, me too.
For those of you who haven't seen Roberto Romero, fun as hell. Like I think he'll probably walk out of this fight being somebody that people really enjoy watching in the long run, and maybe even picks up a win or two here or there. But the biggest problem is the reason people will love watching him is he loves to stand in front of you and bang. And let me tell you how often that works against David Onama. And it's not very often for multiple reasons. Like Onama's top game is actually pretty sick. I really like his takedowns. If you stand in front of him too long, he'll blast a double on you. And then second of all, he melts people with his hands too. So, I know Romero is tough and has been tough historically, but he just stands there and wants to throw down. So I don't think that ends well for him against David Onama.
Yes, and the short notice thing as well. So
and
yes,
very short notice.
Onama is a tough ask for your UFC debut.
Yes,
and he's been looking. He's on a nice little roll as well. So yes, we are in on the same one there. All right, here's a fun fight, Gumby. Yes, it is a flyweight bout. Not flyweight, excuse me. They have to cut off some limbs for flyweight. A lightweight bout. Jim Miller versus Damon and Jackson. US versus US. 3 5-minute rounds. A10, Jim Miller, 37-18 with 1 no contest, 7 knockouts, 20 submissions. He's been knocked out twice, submitted 3 times. Durable, you could say. 26-17 with 1 no contest in the UFC. He's the winningest fighter in the UFC history. 2-1 over his last 3, 5-2 over his last 7. So he's not really slowing down yet. I did lose his last fight though. That was a tough ass though. That fight against the King, Bobby Green. Used to fight down at featherweight, up at welterweight, multiple regional championships on his
mantle.
Correct. Get the shirt, sportsgamblingpockets.com/store. It's sticky. 2005 pro MMA debut. Better striking stats, more active landing strikes, and better grappling stats than Jackson. He's been outstruck in the UFC by 0.51 strikes per minute, plus 145. Action, Jackson, 23-7-1 with 1 no contest. Been knocked out 4 times, submitted 15 times. No, sorry. 4 knockouts, 15 submissions. That's all positive. He's been knocked out 4 times, submitted once. 6-5-1 with 1 no contest over 2 stints in the UFC. 1-3 over his last 4. Did lose his last fight. Used to fight at featherweight. Regional champion. 2-0 in Bellator. 2012 pro MMA debut. 3 inches height over Miller. 5 years younger, but everyone's younger than Miller. He's been outstruck as well. Even worse than Miller. He's been outstruck by 0.57 strikes per minute. Minus 163. I got to pick Jim Miller. Come on. I got to pick Jim Miller. Damon Jackson he had a nice little run there, but ever since the hair transplant implants, he hasn't been the same fighter. This is the type of fight which Jim Miller is going to win. A guy that's going to want to grapple with him, a guy that's probably not going to knock him out on the feet. So yeah, this is right up Jim Miller's alley, especially at this age. He's going to put it to Damon Jackson.
Yeah, underrated part of the fight here too. And this is Damon Jackson's first fight at lightweight.
Right.
I think we forget, because he's just kind of like a dude who's fought a lot of people, and maybe he hasn't really been in the rankings ever. So like we forget that he's a 45er. In the weight cut, just kept getting harder for him and harder for him and harder for him. And like, his speed isn't necessarily top notch for featherweight anymore, right? Like Chepe sort of exposed that in the last fight. Although both of his last 2 opponents missed weight, kind of a bummer at featherweight while he was killing himself to make it. But like, I think that's a detriment to him, because like at those weight classes, to your point, is like he's always had kind of like wrestling in his back pocket if his striking hasn't working. I can't imagine going up in weight and fighting Jim Miller. That's gonna play up.
Yeah.
I wouldn't want to be, trying out wrestling at 55 for the first time and have Jim Miller being the one standing across. And, like Jim Miller's, apart from the Bobby Green fight, his boxing has really played up lately. Like he's can crack a little bit. He's certainly in there, nonstop, looking for finishes. His cardio, with the exception again of the Bobby Green fight, who I think just put it on him in a way none of us were ready for. Like, I think it's looked really good lately. And, I don't think he's going to shoot the takedowns. I think he can hang on the feet. But, like, if he has to, I think it's there. So, yeah, give me Jim Miller. I was kind of surprised to see him as an underdog here. I mean, like, that must be – the Bobby Green fight must be really tainting his view for a lot of people.
Yeah, I think a lot of people expect him to fall off a cliff, but really he hasn't shown that it's going to happen
that Bobby Green fight looked like he did, but also, like – Bobby Green kind of just has a way of doing that to people.
Yeah, that's what he does to everyone.
Yeah, it's like pace and he kind of goes nuts in there. And Miller obviously didn't react well to that.
Yeah, whatever. We won't hold that to him. Will he knock Damon Jackson's hair off like in Mike Tyson Punch Out with Don Flamenco?
Or with Rose Namajunas punching Tracy Cortez's eyelashes off.
Eyelash, yeah, that's true. She can't even fight again. She had to pull out of a fight because of that, right? Jong is getting mad right now. He's gritting his teeth because we're making fun of it.
Shout out to Jong. Shout out to Jong. Love for Tracy Cortez.
Yes. We also have to shout out a new sponsor of ours, mybookie.ag. Yes, we got a new bookie, and it's MyBookie. We're brought to you by mybookie.ag. Not really a new bookie because we SGPN started off with MyBookie, and now we have returned. Check out their new and improved website. Great on mobile, plus props for every game and the live dealer casino. Even new early cash out options are there. Other than obviously the bets we're giving you here, check out my daily NBA bets I'm putting on sportsgamblingpodcast.com. Grab some of those lines off MyBookie. I'm on a nice little roll. All right. Head to mybookie.ag, promo code SGPN for 100% deposit match up to $1,000 plus a $10 casino chip. That's mybookie.ag. Promo code SGPN. And of course, SGPN's proud partner Rhythm is the #1 AI-powered sports betting platform that helps provide bettors of all levels the ability to build custom predictive betting models in seconds and get predictions for betting on money lines, spreads, totals, and props. Build your own model, copy one of the top performing models from the leaderboard, or have Rhythm build a model for you. Now you can trap your props in the Rhythm app. They got NFL picks, NFL props, college football, college basketball, and NBA. Al Horford, ladies and gentlemen. Rhythm has it all. Obviously, Al Horford props is what we're all about. So check those out there and claim your 7-day free trial today by going to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/rhythm at sportsgamblingpodcast.com/RITHMM. All right, we had some discrepancies early on, but we are clicking again. And when we click, we tend to win. It's something like almost 2/3 of the time. Well, 62%.
You think we're going to click on this one?
Now you're making me wonder. We should, but I don't know. Yeah, boy was on your show before. More than once, probably, right? Wasn't it
Damon Jackson was on my show this week, and I just picked against him.
That's true. That's true. Yeah, boy was on your show, though, correct?
Like a billion years ago.
Yeah, okay. Well, I remember. I haven't missed an episode. Top turtle, ladies and gentlemen. All right. Chris Weidman versus yeah, boy, Eryk Anders. 3 5-minute rounds, 185. And Weidman is a dog, but barely a dog. The line's actually moving towards him being a favorite. The All-American Chris Weidman. 16-7, 6 knockouts, 4 submissions. He's been knocked out 6 times. 12-7 in the UFC. The former champion of the world. He's won 1 of his last 3 and 2 of his last 5, which isn't as bad as he was. He was doing a lot worse than that. I did win his last fight. Used to fight at light heavyweight. Regional champ. 2009 pro MMA debut. A wrestling champion, like a collegiate wrestling champion, one of those kinds. A grapple champion as well. An inch of height, 3 inches of reach over Anders. Better grappling stats than Anders. He's been outstruck in the UFC by 0.04 strikes per minute, plus 102. Yeah, boy, Eryk Anders, 16-8 with 1 no contest, 9 knockouts, 1 submission. He's been knocked out once, submitted once. 8-8 with 1 no contest in the UFC. Win over his last 3, 2-3 over his last 5. He used to fight at 205 as well. He was the inaugural LFA middleweight champion. Did you know that, Gumby? He was
the inaugural LFA or
LFA.
RFA?
No, it was LFA, so it wasn't that long ago. Yeah.
Okay.
Back when RFA and LFC combined. He was the first champ there. 3 years younger than Weidman, more active landing strikes than Weidman. He's been outstruck in the UFC, though, by 0.76 strikes per minute, minus 115. So basically, this one's moved into pick'em territory, and we're going to let Gumby pick him first.
I'm going to take Chris Weidman.
Oh, you're wild.
But like, no, hear me out, though.
I know why you're picking him.
Has he looked awful?
Sure.
But it's Eryk Anders too. Like, it's not like that dude is a world beater at this stage in his career either. And if you look at like most of the way Eryk Anders has won his fights lately, it has been by being the guy who can control where the fight takes place. Like, he's hitting takedowns, he's holding guys against the cage. Like, even this iteration of Chris Weidman, do you think that he can do that? Do you think Eryk Anders can hold Chris Weidman in place? And do you think if he gets put up against the cage himself or put on his back, do you think he's going to get up? Because I don't know that he will. Like
Eryk Anders wrestles a lot. Like he relies on
I know he shoots a ton of takedowns, and that's
very
how he's
strong
winning.
And still athletic. But yeah, I have no faith in Chris Weidman.
But the thing is it's athleticism. I don't know necessarily, and this is kind of why I like Weidman in this fight. And again, this is a wildly stupid fight to have to pick. But like, it's kind of why I like Weidman in this spot, because you're right. Eryk Anders wrestles a ton.
Yeah.
And you mentioned he's super athletic. Is he super skilled at wrestling? That's my follow-up question to that.
He's strong and athletic. That's it.
I think he's strong and athletic. Yeah. And so you put a guy who's strong and athletic and has been wrestling for victories lately up against the guy who wrestles. I think I take the wrestler. As long as that wrestler's got enough in the tank. And the reason the line is basically a pick 'em is because that's what you're betting on in this fight. Does Weidman have nothing in the tank? Then you can have Anders at barely favorite money. And if you think Weidman's got anything left in the tank, which apparently the books don't, you can get him at slight dog money.
Yeah, a lot of people seem to agree with you because, like I said, the line has been moving. I think he was plus 120 as of yesterday. Now he's almost pick him. So,
honest question: how much of that do you think is people handicapping and saying Weidman didn't look awful in that Bruno Silva fight, or how much of it do you think is it's in New York? He's gonna fight hard.
No, it's the once a year fans. They're like, hey, UFC, John Jones is fighting this weekend in New York. Hey, Chris Weidman, I know that guy. I'm gonna bet on him. So. Yeah, I have no faith in him at this point. But this fight is not worthy of us really it's fighting over. I'm not breaking up our marriage over Anders and Weidman stuff. The one I am concerned that Anders doesn't knock people out. Looks like he should, but he doesn't. Or he hasn't for a long time. So yeah.
If you're looking for a way to get in on this and not have to feel terrible about picking one of these guys in a fight, that's the angle. The angle is bet that this goes the distance, because the last person Weidman finished, first of all, it got overturned to an eye poke and it became a technical decision. And then second of all, the last person he finished before that, weirdly enough, in New York, I was in attendance for it.
Look at you.
It was Chris Weidman in a main event against Calvin Gastelum on Long Island. So it's been a minute since he's really finished anybody. And like you said, Anders doesn't finish anybody either. Play the over. Play whatever guy you like in this fight to decision.
And that was so long ago, Gumby had to get his parents to drop him off at the fight because he couldn't drive yet.
Not true.
That's how long ago that was. All right, we're to I was going to do more ad reads, but no, you did that. We're going to our main event. I'm happy getting anyone at close to pick him against Weidman. That's what I'll say at that. So not that Eryk Anders.
Would you like Jamie Pickett at Pick'em?
No. Eryk Anders really shouldn't be.
Eryk Anders barely got by Jamie Pickett. He got dropped by him.
He should barely be in the UFC either at this point. But anyhow, main event of the prelims. This is actually a good fight. I'm not being sarcastic about saying calling the main event. Jonathan Martinez versus Marcus McGhee. 135 pounds. Let's break her down, shall we? We're going to tell you about the Dragon. The Dragon versus the Maniac is another good nickname matchup here. The Dragon Martinez, 19-5, 9 knockouts, 2 submissions. He's been knocked out once. 10-4 in the UFC, 6-1. Lost the last fight. That was to the mystique of Jose Aldo. He seemed to be overwhelmed by fighting a legend in the last fight. He's fight at flyweight and up at featherweight. Multiple region championships on his
mantle.
Correct. Get the shirt, sportsgamblingpodcast.com/store. Get sticky with it. Has missed weight before at bantamweight, so keep that in mind. 2014 pro MMA debut. An inch of reach. 4 years younger than McGhee. How much younger does he look than McGhee, though? 40 years younger than McGhee?
McGhee doesn't look young.
No. Topology doesn't do him any favors either. I guess any photo doesn't do him favors. He was on your show before too, right?
Jonathan Martinez?
No, McGhee. The Maniac?
No, not McGhee. Yes, okay. Martinez, though.
Okay, Martinez was. All right, Martinez is inch of reach, 4 years younger, as I said, over McGhee. He has outstruck, excuse me, his opponents by 0.67 strikes per minute, plus 120. So another close one, which is good. The Maniac, Marcus McGhee, perfect nickname. That's all you need to know about him. 9-1, 8 knockouts, 1 submission. He's been submitted once. 3-0 in the UFC. He's won 5 straight fights. He's not lost since July 2022. He's fought at featherweight, better striking stats, more active landing strikes, better grappling stats than Martinez. He's outstruck his opponents by almost 3 strikes a minute, plus 2.91 is the number, minus 135. This is a big step up for Marcus McGhee, but I'm taking him anyhow. He hasn't shown any issues at all with competition he's fought. Martinez has fought way better people than he has, but he's not more dangerous than the Maniac. McGhee is just a monster. They're a very hard guy to probably fight and game plan against. So I will ride the Maniac train until the wheels fall off.
Yeah, I'm gonna ride it too. I'm gonna be really cautious about this number because when I saw this fight, I was like, "Oh, cool, a fight we might be able to get Marcus McGhee at dog money." And then I saw it posted. It's actually come down a little bit. He was in the like -150 kind of range earlier in the week, and like that to me is not terribly enticing because, as you mentioned, this is such a big step up in competition. But the reason I like him is all of what you said. You know, like he really brings a pace. He gets after it. He's an incredible finisher. Jonathan Martinez did look kind of, I don't know if it was starstruck or just like kind of beat up in his last fight. But like Marcus McGhee gets after it. And, you know, I have to think being a guy who works with the MMA lab, he's a guy who comes in with a super smart game plan every single time. You got to imagine he's going to be able to watch out for those leg kicks, Jonathan Martinez. Like he's got to have something ready to go for that. And plus, I think he could wrestle him a little bit too. We don't see a lot of Jonathan Martinez in grappling exchanges. Like a lot of his fights have taken place solely on the feet, but I'd like Marcus McGhee to mix it up here and beat him. Do I like him -135 worth? Maybe, maybe not. But he's my pick.
Yeah, he's a maniac that's well coached, which is a bad combination for his opponents for sure. All right, let's recap, ladies and gentlemen, and we'll get out of your orifices until we invade you again tomorrow. We both have the maniac Marcus McGhee. He has Weidman. I have Anders, but no one wins in this fight with either of those picks. We both have Miller, both have Onama onto the early prelims, both have Tybura, both have Brahimaj. I have Elliott. He has Hafez after I actually put your name down. He has Hardy. I have Moura. Boom. You're set for now. We'll be back tomorrow, as I mentioned. Main card and our fancy plays, locks, dogs, props, parlays, all that fun stuff. In the meantime, we shall be in the Discord, sportsgamblingpodcast.com/Discord. We shall be beating off haters on YouTube, MMA Gambling Podcast.
You're going to do that, not me.
I am the designated beater offer of haters, so make sure you get in there. MMA Gambling Podcast. Thanks for subscribing. The subscriptions keep going up, even without us bugging you. Imagine that. Twitter, well, it still exists. Twitter X, SGPN MMA is the account. Gumby runs for us. He's Gumby Reeland. I'm Jeff Fox, writer there and on Instagram. Check out my Substack. Enter my UFC 309 Pick'em contest at moneymma.substack.com. As we mentioned a million times, I did a good job advertising the Top Turtle MMA podcast. And this week, he mentioned already, Damon Jackson is on it. Who else is on it?
Roybert Echeverria, who is main eventing Anthony Pettis Fighting Championships this week on Sunday, which you can go back and listen to our episode on that as well. And it was recently tweeted out by Anthony Pettis himself and retweeted by Bilal, remember the name, Muhammad.
Oh, I didn't notice that part. Yeah, and it made our bosses happy, and so that is good. Thank
Shout
you,
out Anthony Pettis.
I was going to give him an episode, but now I can't, so I'll give that's fine. We'll give you a shout out, even better. Thank you for making us look good to the bosses. What else? Oh, of course, the bosses. The bosses' website would be sportsgamblingpodcast.com. Gumby and I have daily articles up there, as does a bunch of the rest of our staff. You can get all our podcasts there as well, and of course, the app, as we told you. You can get all our articles on the app as well. Sportsgamblingpodcast.com/store. So you can dress like a cool guy, and sportsgamblingpodcast.com/Patreon. So you can get some bonus content. We'll be back tomorrow. It shall be the Maniac Jack Fox and El Charro Negro. Gumby Reeland. We'll talk to you then. Maybe that.